Angela Fazio is an industry powerhouse who has overseen 40,000 homes sold and $9 billion in production. And Kristen Cantrell is one of the nation's most accomplished team leaders, helping thousands of agents build their businesses. They are passionate about educating, encouraging, and empowering moms in real estate. Our next episode starts now.
Hey guys, welcome to Moms in Real Estate. It's Kristen Cantrell, and today I am going to be talking with Sam Oberlies, and she's out of Arizona, which you guys all know is my favorite thing because that means she's in studio, and she's also a native to Arizona, a boy mom, so we have a ton in common, and I can't wait to dive into today because the topic that we came up with was, oops, didn't see that coming.
I'm like, oops, I did it again.
I know, totally. Little Britney Spears came into my head for sure. So, Sam, get us started. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so like Kristen said, my name's Samantha. Go by Sam. I do have two boys. There's Calvin, who is 4, and Aiden, who is 8. Sorry, almost 5 and almost 9. They'll always correct me. And
I love how they correct you.
Always. And then like she said, I'm from Arizona, and I have been doing real estate for 7 years. So I love it. I've done pretty much every aspect of real estate, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, we were just talking off air, and I was telling Sam how I love the journey of every real estate agent because although I feel like everyone's path is so different, there is the evolution of an agent, and I feel like Sam's path is just such a blueprint of that. So why don't you tell us like kind of the role that you started in and where you're at now?
Yeah, so real estate kind of just like fell into my lap. I'm not wanting to be in real estate, but it wasn't even across my brain at all. And I had a friend, Michaela, shout out to Michaela. She actually reached out to me and she said, hey, my team is looking for a transaction coordinator. Didn't even know what that meant, right?
Yeah,
I hadn't
like,
even
what
bought
is
my
that?
first house at this point. Like I had no idea what that was. Mm-hmm. So went in, interviewed, loved the people, loved the culture, loved the energy, and then took my test. 9 days later, got licensed and started TCing.
9 days later is so impressive.
I swear to gosh, they have changed the test. I promise. Because everyone's like, it's so hard. And I was like, it wasn't that hard, but I swear they've changed the test.
Well, I always say like I passed on my first time, but I think that they messed up. And I just think God knew I could not handle it if they told me that I didn't pass because I like ran out of that place.
You're like, oh, I got it.
I got it and I'm leaving. Like,
so I was a TC for, gosh, I think it was like 3 years for a team, maybe 2 years. Loved the team. They definitely taught me so much. And then moved over to a different team and was TCing for that team, and then eventually moved up into the director of operations role. So leading a TC team, leading an admin team, and then planning events and kind of doing all the back end stuff of real estate, right? And at one point I remember going, well, I kind of know all of this, right? I know how to, like, I was helping train our agents, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of knew it. And then my team leader at the time, she was phenomenal. She was like, hey, take the reins and just jump into sales. Like, I really think you would be great at this. And so I did it. And obviously I had an amazing first year. It was kind of right at the height of the market. I think everybody did, right? And, now I have decided to take the journey and start my own team. And so right now it's just me, right? But my goal is to build a team with the end in mind.
I love that. Yeah. See how it just grew into that in 6 years. And I think it's so cool. Did you feel like, I have a question about so being a TC is so different than sales, right?
Sure.
And we all have different strengths and weaknesses. Mine specifically is I have to try really hard to be good at the details and be good at systems and all that kind of stuff, where I feel like TCing, like they don't really like to be in sales most of the time. They like to be the behind the scenes and doing all the detailed work. So what's your personality type like?
Yeah. So it's evolved a lot. Like
Totally.
if you would have talked to me like 6 years ago, I would have been a completely different person. Like so meek, very quiet, still quiet, but not as quiet as and shy as I was. But I am a little bit of a mix of both. Mm-hmm. I love the details. I love systems. I think systems are amazing. I think they can help you grow exponentially. And then add people into that mix and it's a whole different ballgame. But I'm a little bit of both. And I used to, because the team I was on, their TC work, they would also call for updates, right?
Yeah.
And I remember being petrified to call. And it's funny now because literally my entire job is people and calling, right? And so I just remember being completely petrified, and they just kind of like fed me to the wolves, which I'm so grateful and blessed for, because like that was the best thing that could have happened, right?
Yeah.
And now I almost prefer the people and the calling versus the system building and stuff.
Yeah.
Except I know the end in mind helps, and I'm really good at it. So I can tap into that when I need to.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
I love that. I have learned to love systems. I don't know how I did it without them for so long, but now that I have them implemented, it's like, how did I not do this for so long?
For sure. Yeah.
So when you say you love people, tell me, like, how have you built your business? Like, what are your lead gen sources, and what do you stay away from? What do you lean into?
Yeah, this is a very complex question even now. There's so many changes in my life. So, I have been known to pretty much do it all. Like cold calling, expireds, cancels, for sale by owners, open houses. I love open houses just because I love face-to-face.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm kind of starting to reevaluate what that looks like.
Okay.
Right. I was very, very heavy cold calling, and now I kind of have taken into the social media aspect a little bit more.
Yeah.
And have found that has been way more fruitful than cold call.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned something to me about, social media, right? It's a love-hate relationship. Yeah. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So the hate part is comparison, right? I mean, I know I do it, especially even more so now that I'm building my own business, right? I'm comparing myself to everybody. And at the end of the day, like, I have to know when to stop, right? And like, I think it's really hard because I think right now I'm in this like, oh, I'm going to compare myself against this person. Oh, this person just started a team. I'm going to compare. And it's so negative.
Yeah.
And I found myself just kind of like going through the scroll. And my husband was like, why are you so down on yourself? Like, you literally just like rose from the ashes and you're going, right? And he's like, just put it away. And I think it's hard with social media, especially if you build a business on social media, because you're on it all the time.
All the time.
So how do you not fall in trap to that, right? And so I found just staying inside of my DMs, right, is huge, right? Because that's where I connect with a lot of people anyway, just through DMs.
Absolutely.
And so if I have to, especially with Facebook, Facebook's easier because they have Messenger. Yeah. Right? You can just go through Messenger and stay in Messenger. Yeah. Right?
Whereas, it is like actually separate. Totally.
Yeah. And so, but I have to put a time limit on it. Yeah. Right? I spend X amount of time on it. Otherwise I will fall trap.
Yeah. I think it's such a great point. And one thing that's helped me is because I will find myself, there's certain people, and it's not the actual person. I don't know what it is, but it is where I compare and I feel bad when I watch them. Yeah. And so then there's these people that could be the same thing that they're posting, but these other people will inspire me. So I had to. It's not that I don't like these people, but I had to snooze them. Yeah. Don't unfollow them, but I just snooze them, and I feel so much better. And so then I fill my feed with people that I get ideas from and that actually make me feel good and that I'm not feeling bad about myself. Yeah. So I had to go through and do that too, because there was certain people where I'd be like, just made me feel bad about myself. Yeah. And I don't know why.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, like, no matter how big you are, I think everyone does that. Right. And
I will tell you right now, talking to so many women on this podcast, all of us do it.
Yeah. It's so unhealthy, but like, why do we do it?
I don't know.
Like, we should not give two shits about what so-and-so person's doing. Like, it's not fair to us.
I know. It's not fair to us, but I think we're all our own worst critics. And so just one of those things. Yep. So tell me like a little bit about, you envisioning yourself, starting your own team, and now you're in it. Like, what do you see your team looking like? Have you forecasted for yourself, like, this is what I want it to be in a year, 3 years, 5 years, anything like that? Yeah. So I don't want a huge team. Okay. Right? I want a pretty small, close-knit team. Okay. My first hire will probably be an assistant. Yeah. Just because I know that that's what I did. Right. And I know that that's what I feel like I will need. Mm-hmm. And then from there on, I don't know what that looks like. It'll probably be a showing assistant. Mm-hmm. And then just continuing that path forward probably. But again, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into anything until I really know what the needs are for the market in the moment and what's going on in my life, right? Yeah. And so I think just tapping into, what do I need right now, I think is really important. What kind of drives you? Like when you think, okay, I want to be a team leader, like what are the things that you feel like, your talents and what you feel like this is really like brings me joy and I feel like I'm good at it?
Yeah. So I think it all boils down to like wanting to have compassion towards others, right? And wanting to help others grow, and not just going, okay, do this many units, right? I care about business because I think business brings other things, but more personally,
Yes.
right? And I think that that's hard in real estate right now. So many people are so concerned about production, which is important. I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, you are who you are. So I want to coach to the person. And I love that. I love, like, even when I was on my old team, right, I was our director of sales, right? So I got to have one-on-one time with our agents. And that was my favorite part, right? Because I can watch somebody grow personally, right? And then, of course, professionally helps.
Yeah, so. I love that. And you know what I heard recently that was such a great eye-opener for me? I was on this call. It's called the beta call, and it was for there was a lot of high-level people on there. And one of the guys, he works with probably, I don't know, like 3,000 or 4,000 agents. And he said they had a Q1 recap call. So it was a Zoom call with agents all over the world, because he's in Canada and then a lot of agents in the United States. And they all broke into these small groups, and everybody talked about what was working in Q1 and what wasn't working. And every single group came back, and the number one thing that people were struggling with was mindset. And he said, you can throw all the shiny objects at people. Everyone's the best listing agent. Everyone's the best YouTube agent, whatever it is, all these different ways that you can build your business. But at the end of the day, he's like, you need to remember that this is the number one struggle people have. And I'm like, you know what? That was such a great eye opener for me, to hear that on such like a high level, you know?
Yeah. I think mindset is number one. Like, if your mindset's not right, you're not going to do what you want to do, and you're not going to be happy doing it either.
Absolutely. So how do you help yourself have a healthy mindset? Yeah.
So I have and I think a lot of people in real estate, entrepreneurs in general, have a really, really hard time of disassociating. Right?
Yeah.
And like saying, okay, I need to be present where my feet are. I'm not perfect by any means. But I try and do things that at least like ease my mind, but not go business. Right?
Yeah.
So I started picking up reading.
Yes.
And not self-help books. Because if I go and read a self-help book at night, which I used to do, but if I go and read a self-help book at night, my brain is like, oh, I need to do this. And right. And I bust out the whiteboard. And that's just so not healthy and totally defeats the purpose. So I started reading just like love books or crime books. I love true crime.
Love
so like
this.
Anything like that. And like, so that I think honestly has been the hugest thing.
Yeah.
And then I also journal.
Yeah.
I try and do it every night. I'm not perfect at it, but journaling has been really, really good, especially through my transitions.
Yeah.
And like trying to figure out what it is I'm thinking, right? And what direction I want to go in.
I love both of those things, because I think I know so many people are like, I haven't read in so long. And what it is, you guys, is it's you time, and it's making sure that you have you time, whatever that looks like. So for Sam and myself, like, I love reading, and I think that doing that before bed, can't read a self-help book, because it is true. Like, you have all these ideas going through, but when you're reading something that you genuinely enjoy and want to just like, almost like watching a series, but it's just you reading. So I think that's cool. What's your favorite book?
Oh my gosh, Verity by Colleen Hoover.
It's so good.
Oh my gosh. I have been trying, because that was the first book I read when I started getting into reading. And
really?
And now I'm trying to.
So this is a new journey for you.
Like very new. Like within the last.
I'm going to blow your mind with books.
I'm so excited. I'm so ready for it.
Oh, that's so good. Almost all of Colleen Hoover's books are excellent.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a couple I was like, okay, I could have gone without that. But for the most part, she's a fantastic author.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Verity was like, I'm trying to find a book that competes, and I haven't. So.
Oh, Sharper Objects.
Okay.
Yeah, Sharper Objects. And it's the best show to series I've ever seen. You know how like you read a book, and then you watch the movie or the show, and it's like, they did okay.
Yeah.
This one's good.
Ah.
So it's the same author as Gone Girl, which I can't remember her name. But okay, so I love that advice, and I think that that's so important. So let's talk about having two young kids at home and running your own business. I'm a big advocate of like balance doesn't exist, but I do think that you can get close to it, right? So how do you manage all the things you have going on?
I don't.
Yeah, I know.
No, I will say like business wise, I feel like I am spot on, right?
Yeah.
I'm very systematized. I run a calendar, right? But home life, it's a struggle, man. Like I don't care what is going on or what isn't going on. It's a constant battle, especially with two boys. And I have a boy who love him to death. He's extremely strong-willed.
Yeah.
And so it takes a lot of patience, which I don't have the most patience. I'm definitely learning that.
Yeah.
So I think honestly, it boils down to just getting my boys more involved. Because the more involved that they are, the less it feels like I need to balance something, you know? So if I'm going to go look at some models and tour some models, I'm bringing my son with me, right? Yep. Like, or getting them involved in some way. Like we had some time to kill on a Saturday. I was like, hey, let's go look at models. And my son's like, again, Mom, right? But at the same time, I'm like, well, this helps Mommy, right?
Yeah.
And so I think just getting them involved, it almost eliminates the need for balance.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are your kids on payroll?
Not yet, but that is a goal of mine and they need to be.
Yeah, 100% they do. And I will tell you, my kids just got on payroll and I told them all about it, right? I was telling them how much they get paid and what their roles are. And I had them help stuff bags for my Flourish event. They were so excited about it because they wanted that role. Like they wanted a definition of what that meant for them because they were like, how else can I help you? And they got so involved. I was like, why haven't I been doing this more? Yeah. You know, so they always want to come to work with me. I'm like, okay, you can come and it looks like this. And then they totally show up and they're very helpful too. I'm like,
yeah, and they're excited about it.
Yes.
I mean, especially like Popeyes, like that's the easiest thing to get them involved in, and they love it because they're usually like, Popeyes are usually like cheesy and cute, right? There's a reason that they're so successful. But the kids love it even more.
So one of my girls, Cassandra Mueller, she runs a big team and she gives me Popeyes every month because she wants to make sure that the girl that's doing them does them. And so I'm like the one that tells her. And my kids, when I get a Popeye, it's like the biggest deal in my house because they're all cheesy, corny, but they get a highlighter or they get a piece of candy or they get something stupid and they're so thrilled. So if you're an agent out there and you're not doing Popeyes, from the client experience of getting them, it's like a no-brainer.
Especially if it's something cheesy like that your kids love, because if like people love people that make your kids happy.
Oh my gosh, like absolutely.
Or if you remember their kids' names, like, people love that.
They absolutely love it. It's literally the highlight of the month at my house.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, and if I ask Lucas who his favorite real estate agent is, it's probably Cassandra.
Ooh, I know.
I know. Okay, so tell me like with your husband, right? So I feel like this is something that we've been talking about more and more. For women like us that are, you know, running big groups or running high production, it's easy to put forth a lot of our energy into our businesses, but then we get home and we're tired, right?
Yeah.
So how do you maintain a great relationship with your husband?
Yeah, this one's tough. My biggest thing is weekly date nights.
Yeah. You do every week?
Mm-hmm. So we've taken a break the last month and a half because Grandma and Grandpa have been in Alabama, and let's face it, daycare is not cheap.
Yeah, so. I know, right? So you have Grandma and Grandpa. That is awesome.
Oh yeah. So Grandma and Grandpa come over every Wednesday. We are so blessed. They just moved down here in June, so we've pretty much been doing it for almost a year now.
Oh, that's so good.
And it's a game changer.
Yeah.
And I will say you can get, and I've done this, and we always fall into this habit, you can get into the habit of still going on date night and not connecting.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And you're just going out to dinner, which is fine. Go out to dinner, but make sure it's intentional when you're going.
Yeah.
Like, have fun, right?
Yeah.
Because,
like, what else do you do to be intentional at dinner?
I mean, honestly, it's just talking, right? Not being on our phones. We put our phones away. We put our phones on Do Not Disturb. There have been a time or two, right, where we don't. But, when we really need to be intentional, we just put our phones away because I think that's the biggest distraction.
It's so easy to just want to go to dinner and drinks. And I was actually just with like, because we're starting to do date nights again because we stopped doing them for so long. Or we'd be like, oh, so-and-so come. We love being around people.
Same, yeah.
And so I was like, we kind of need to stop where we're just like having everyone else come with us because we do need time to connect. And so I was telling my husband, I'm like, it's just like going to dinner and drinks is like what we always do. Like we should go do something like where it's actually like going and doing something, you know? Yeah. So even that's hard.
It is. It's hard. Well, and it's hard because like you fall trapped to like doing the same thing over and over, right?
Yeah.
So I love new experiences.
Yeah.
Like that's like one of my favorite things is to experience new things that I've never experienced, right?
Yeah.
But I also love food.
I know.
I love wine.
Which is an experience.
Yeah, which is an experience. So, and he's now taking up wine and liking wine as well.
I love that.
We're like, okay, instead of going to the same place like over and over, which we probably still do at least once a month, right? Let's mix it up and go somewhere where we've never been. Yeah. Right? And like really try and like, I feel like that's a fun way. Because at the end of the day, like my in-laws come over at dinner time, so we still have to eat.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And then I don't want to be gone till like 1 a.m. Like,
I know.
So
even if you did like one new like, you know, activity experience a month, like that's even more than you're doing now, right?
For
so
sure.
I told him I want to do iFly really bad. He won't do it with me.
My husband won't either.
He won't?
Nope.
Yeah, I want to do
scared.
it. He's like, I'll watch you. I'm like, okay, that's at least an activity for me then.
Right? I know. I did that. I want to do that, and I want to do go-kart racing, which are both in Scottsdale, like right next to each other.
Oh, like at the actual like race car,
like a
go-karts.
legit go-kart
Yeah,
racing.
they're fun.
Yeah.
They are so fun.
Yeah.
I even like the crappy ones, like when you go in the like little towns and they're so fun. I find myself like giggling and laughing when I'm doing stuff. I'm like, I should do this more often.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
I love that. I think we need to start talking about our husbands more. Definitely on this show. I'm going to make it a point too.
I love it.
Okay, so if you were to give advice to somebody listening today that is like maybe, you know, starting out their journey in real estate, what advice would you give them?
My biggest piece of advice would be do what you want to do and lean into that. Because if you're going to do things that don't bring you joy, you're not going to get the successes that you want, right? And so if you tap into things that you love, like if you love trying new foods, for example, right? Go grab a friend and go try new foods with them, right? Like do the type of lead generation, so to speak. I hate that word for some reason. It like cringes me, right? Because it's just connecting with people, right? Go connect with people in the most comfortable way that shows up as you.
Yes.
And I think that many people are like, you got to do this or buy this or this, and there's this shiny object. And it's like, no, just talk to your people.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have a big sphere here, go out and talk to people the way you want to.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I so agree. I actually like when I work out during like work hours, I try to bring somebody with me to connect with.
Yeah.
Because then it doesn't feel like I'm doing something that's like unproductive during work hours.
For sure. Well, and that's where you're going to find your most people too, right? And
Totally.
it's going to be people who you connect with, right?
Yeah, I agree. All right. So you guys, to wrap this up, we're going to do some spitfire questions at Sam. So I'm going to say a word and you're going to say the first word that comes to mind.
Okay.
Social media.
Love it.
You love it.
Right now, I'm just choosing to love it.
Okay. I love that you just chose that because I was not expecting that word to come out.
I know. Right now, I'm just choosing to love it because I have such a love-hate relationship with it. And it has been so instrumental in my business just in the last month that I'm just tapping all in and I'm doing it.
Okay. I have a question about social media real quick. Sidetrack.
Yeah.
What is your most, like, what kind of posts or reels or whatever that you're doing that are gaining you the most traction, would you say?
Stories.
Yeah.
Stories and direct DMs, of course.
Yep.
But mainly stories. I get the most interaction on my stories.
Okay.
I do reels as well, right? Reels I get decent, but the most like one-on-one interaction is stories.
Yep. How many stories do you do, would you say, on average a day?
I would say on average 2.
Yeah.
My goal is to do about triple that though.
Yeah. I know. Live in your stories. I think it's so important. We'll have to put a story up after this.
Yes.
Okay. Next word, last word is dating your husband is.
Fun and exciting and sexy. Sorry, that was 3 words.
Sexy.
That was 3
I like
words.
that. That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for being a guest on Moms in Real Estate. And if you guys are listening, you guys should check out theflourishevent.com for our next women's conference. Sam's actually come to one before.
Love it. You should go.
Yes. You can be anywhere. You can live anywhere and you can fly to Chandler, Arizona and have a great time with us. So come to the next one. And thanks so much for tuning in.
Bye, guys.